Okay. We shall now be live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another Arknights live stream. Of course, today's live stream is going to be a little different than the usual. We're pretty much in a waiting till next event zone. Now, what's interesting to note is that currently, as we speak in CN, they currently have the anime collab going on. I am not. There's a lot to say. Obviously, as the title goes, there's a lot to say. Especially now since it's out, I can actually have a better opinion on it, which is not good. Let's just TLDR. I'm gonna make people mad. That's if you're coming into this, expect that it's gonna be my own opinion. Aside from there's gonna be two different tier lists. Not one made for me, one made for chat. So of course, come to mind that the first one is going to be by me, my own opinion, and how I feel about all the collabs that Arknights has. And overall, I will talk about it because I've talked about before how I felt with the collabs of Arknights. And I'm not going to try to speak anything of right now, but it's all over the place. If you want a TLDR, it's going to be all over the place. So regardless, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to mention when it comes to that. Not really, aside from the fact that you're probably going to mold. Some people are going to be furious. At the very end of the day, it is my opinion. And if you have your own, you can make your own tier list. You can exclude certain collabs or add certain collabs. If you want to add Arknights clothing collabs, you can, but they're not in the game, so they're not going to count. So that sort of thing. If you want to do that, go ahead. And that is something I will also mention while we kind of get started here. There are several collabs that Arknights has that is not in Arknights. We are not counting those games, okay? Or collabs, because there are some Arknights collabs that are in different games that have nothing to do in Arknights, and we are not going to count those. Sorry, but not sorry. Sorry. It's just one of those things that I don't give a fuck. Let's be real here. It has nothing to do with Arknights. It has not in Arknights. There is nothing for it in Arknights. Why should I care? Especially for a genre that I don't really care about. It's surprising that a lot of the collabs for Arknights has been matching minigame collabs with other mobile games that are essentially just rhythm games, essentially. Which I think is rather interesting, but we are not going to be talking about those. Now, before this stream, I prepared ahead of time of all the different collabs that Arknights has, and trust me, there's a lot more than even the Wiki has. They have not updated that shit for a long while. So there's going to be a lot of collabs that even might surprise some people, or they just completely forgot about. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people forgot about certain collabs. Looking at Astros here as a good example. Aside from that, we are going to be using Tier Maker. At the very beginning here, I don't know how long it's going to be. Obviously, I don't know because I'm right now streaming. But there's going to be a section of us creating the collabs. Also, I want to mention that the collabs that have been announced for Arknights that will be in Arknights that would have been in Arknights is also represented here. I'm looking at Destiny 2 as an example. But that game has a special placement. So let's just say that. Kind of foreshadowing. But regardless, yeah, I don't think there's really much else to note. So let's get started. As I will also repeat, when it comes to Tier Maker, there's going to be two tiers. One from, obviously, for me. Second one is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be based off of the chat and what they think, assuming that there's enough interaction. If no one's really interacting or talking about shit or just don't really care, then there won't be another one. And that's, I can't really say much about that. If no one shows up, or if some people don't just talk and just chill in the background, then that's sorry for the people that are wanting to see what people think. Regardless, let's get into the tier list. Now, for me, I am not gonna make this public because why would I make this public? I mean, I could, but I'm not really a big fan of doing that. I've always made them pretty much private, because again, at the end of the day, it's my own tier list, and people can make their own. It's not that hard. Not rocket scientists. So I'm gonna make my own template. I am going to single-use template. I don't care about this at all. But I'm gonna see real quickly. I'm gonna quickly add in the pictures. Chose files. We're gonna add all of them. Open. They're going to seem like duplicates of collabs, but there is a reason for that. Because there isn't any duplicates, technically. Because one of them is not even a collab. Okay, so I'll kind of go over the games here, then I'll work on the tier list in of itself, and we'll go on from there. So we're gonna start from left to right, and let's get started. So Destiny 2, we'll talk about that in a great detail because there's a lot of context missing of why we haven't seen it. I have talked about it many times before. A lot of people in the EN community just don't actually know about this stuff that people have in the CN community probably talked about it at some point. I know some of the moderators I've talked to have talked about it, so it's like kind of decent info, except not in the EN community, which is kind of funny. So you know, I'm gonna probably like gonna ruin people's lives to the fact that I don't expect Destiny 2. I mean, it's kind of obvious since we haven't seen it and we got a different collab, but just foreshadowing. Aside from that, I'm foreshadowing too much when it comes to Destiny 2, honestly. But I don't really care about the collab anyway, so sorry. Anyway, Hello Kitty. We have the Rainbow Six Siege Part 2. I have them both separate. Because there's a lot to each of them, I feel like, especially for the first one with the co-op event. Just take notice. We have the WWF collab. We have the Lu Zhao Li. It's been a while since I see the name. Collab. We have the X Asterisk collab. We technically have the EN Nerfed, used to be KFC, but not anymore event. I'm not going to say collab, but I will be placing this here because technically it was a collab. But anyway, we have the Chinese program of space collab. We have the Chinese legend collab. I'm just gonna say that. We have, of course, the Monster Hunter collab, the Dungeon Meshi collab, Rainbow Six Siege Part 1 collab, and we have the actual KFC collab. It doesn't take rocket scientists to know why there is a version that's no KFC. But anyway, yeah, 13 different instances of collabs for Arknights. Only 12 of them have actually appeared in game. That's actually a lot when you actually think about it and take into account. Granted, some of these we'll probably never see at all in global. Fun fact. By the way, yeah, like this, we should have had this collab right here by now, but we didn't. So, you know, that's gonna be fun. Anyway, so first of all, I'm trying to remember how we do this again. Add row below. We're going to name this very conveniently doesn't even have ranking if the collab is just straight up dead. Foreshadowing. What else? I was thinking of adding a separate tier list. Specifically, like, I hate so much that it should have been something else. But at the same time, I don't think that'd be kind of fair, because that'd be, like, pretty much all the collabs. But, again, that's kind of foreshadowing for the end, but I'm not going to, because then again, I realized that'd be kind of boring if everything was in one single section, and all these just disappeared. Like, what's the point of it being a tier list then? And I'm not gonna like cherry coat it. Like, a lot of the collabs I don't really care about all that much at all. I like other things, sure, but none of these have been in my interest group at all, or have any care for the world at all. I've been very vocal about this a lot of times. And I've been vocal of what I would like to see a lot of times, but it is what it is. Now, granted, one of them is kind of an obvious that is like less that, okay, the X Ashes collab. Regardless, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We have Dead. You know what? I'm actually going to put under S, because there's I'm not gonna say much. But I am going to hint to the fact that I am going to make a lot of people angry. I could just remove the S category and everything will just be hunky dory. But let me go purple. And we're gonna name this I don't know how to go about it. After experience. A+. There we go. I think this will be something I will say. So even if I know I talked about how I didn't really care much about any of these collabs, I will say that some of them I actually did like the collab. So I think having this as well would be fair to me and fair to other people that maybe didn't like the collab at all or didn't think much about it, but actually liked it. And I think that's a fair addition. We're going to change things out here. So we're going to put black for Dead. You can't see shit. D, we're going to put like a gray. C, we're going to put orange, I guess. A, B is going to be like a green. A is going to be an S. Purple, and then S is gonna be my favorite color, light cyan blue. There we go. So we kind of got everything in order, I think, at this point. I don't think there's really much else to note when it comes to the collab. Not collab, the tier list, I should say. I can't really think of anything else, because it's like, aside from that, there hasn't been anything announced that hasn't been out yet. Like, all of the collabs from the last 5th anniversary stream have been out at some point. The Hello Kitty and the Mushy collab, which just came out today. So I think this is fair enough. So we're gonna go over again, and then we'll actually start. S, after experiencing A+, A, B, C, D, the usual stuff, and then completely dead. AKA, you'll never see it, and it'll never show up in the game. And you might think, we're going to start off with that. We're going to start off with that tier, because there's only one game that goes in there. One collab, I should say. And you might be thinking, but, what are you talking about? Most of these are... This game is not going to come out for the collab, for Arknights. Let's start the long journey. That's not that big a long journey. Pretty much, Bungie fucked up. Bungie got banned in China. We're not seeing Destiny 2 and Arknights. There we go. There we go. The thing that I don't know either the Arknights community has been ignoring, purposely ignoring because they don't want to know the truth, or it's just not really well-known knowledge and nobody's been talking about it. I've talked about it many times before. I even talked about it in other YouTube channels. Maybe people thought I was crazy and just ignored it. No, Destiny 2 is banned in China, which therefore it cannot be in Arknights, because if you don't know anything about Hyperglyph, they are really, really, really stringent on making each version the same. That means even if a controversy that only happened in China, even if it connected to Japan, it will still affect the global servers. That includes certain voice actors being banned. So it is straight up not going to show up in Arknights. I know some people just left. A lot of people were just like, bruh, fuck off. No, I'm generally trying to be serious here. Destiny 2 will not show up in Arknights because it is banned in China. Mostly Bungie is banned in China. Which means Destiny 2, the reason why we haven't seen anything is because it's been banned in China. Now, technically, there is another collab that actually did, after its release, did get banned in China, but it has had its show in Arknights. So technically, Destiny 2 / Bungie is not the only one, but it will not be considered in a dead category because we did actually have it. But from what I understand, we do have more of a story. There's actually more to it than just Bungie fucking up. Because, well, I don't know the exact story. Pretty much China just straight up did not like what Bungie was doing, and they pretty much banned them. So, take that as you will. I know when it comes to the main developer, he has played Destiny 2 a lot. And that's his main game. He probably could still play it in China. But in terms of, like, collaborations, from what I've seen or heard talk about, the reason why we haven't seen Destiny 2 is that it's pretty much just, you can no longer get in China. Which means they can't really collab with it, because that would go against their government. And you know how the Chinese companies and the people are when it comes to China. So, again, that is why we're not going to see Destiny 2. And this is why Destiny 2 is the only collab that is in the dead category. Which is, I guess, for most part, is sad for a lot of people. To me, I'm like, cool, another collab I can not really care about all that much, because I still don't care about to begin with. But thankfully, we don't have to waste time working that as a collab, which is, I know, against the grain, especially with what I'm going to say a lot for these collabs. But I think working on something else, like one of the main stories, just better off than focusing on that. But that's just my opinion anyway, at the end of the day. But of course, we did get something else in return of Destiny 2. I mean, it just came out on CN today, so it's not really too hard to figure that out, what that is. But we're not there yet. I think we're gonna go from the very first collab and go from there. I wanted to get Destiny 2 out of the way because it's the only one where it's just like, I can't really put on a tier list because it's never going to show up in Arknights, unfortunately. So that's just how it is. I know some people were really hoping to see Destiny 2, but there's a reason why a lot of people are like, where's Destiny 2? It's just banned in China. That's why. Anyway. Continuing on. I'm going to say the same talking points here, so I don't want to keep doing that. WWF. This is not my placement, but let's talk about the WWF. I think the WWF, out of all the collabs I've experienced in gacha games ever since 2017, is the most unique because it's a collab with a charity. How many gacha games have you ever had that's a collab with a charity? Think about that for a minute. Now think about that with something that's actually important, like wildlife. It's in conversation, not conversation, but the conversation. That fucking my brain is stupid right now. The words, but you know, trying to help with wildlife's, you know, we're just trying to make sure that animals don't go extinct, overall, in terms of the uniqueness of the collab, and honestly, in terms of like the goal for WWF, it is from what I understand and from like a outside view, it seems like a company that's trying to do good things, or a charity trying to do good things, I should say. Not so much a company, but in the case of this collab, I think overall it is the most unique collab, just because it's a charity, not some IP. And it tries to help the environment and tries to be good in the world. And I think for the very first collab, I wish they brought it back. I actually wish they bring back the WWF collab. Do another charity event. They could have done like yearly thing too with it, and I think that'd be really cool. But I do hope in the future that they bring this back. Hopefully, it's not banned in China. So with that in mind, well, I could put this in S, just because of how I feel about it. I'm gonna put it in A. Now, the issue with the WWF collab is that, aside from like the one skin that's a login, I believe, if I remember correctly, that's like the only unique thing of the collab. Now, technically there was two, which was Pure Stream, but they eventually added that into recruitment, so that didn't really become unique. Which is kind of like, yikes. But there was the unique skin. I wish they bring it back. Add some really cool things to the game for the charity event. And I do really hope they do it again. I think it was like my favorite. I think out of all of them, probably my most favorite collab, because it actually there's more meaning to it than just doing it with an IP, and it's unique. Honestly, what am I saying? I should probably just put this in S. I think this is probably going to be the only S one, because I generally like the idea of it trying to be Arknights in of its own right does for the most part try to be accurate with the animals involved a lot more than people realize. Like Lot Blonde based off an extinct wolf, and you can find that out by I think her belt, I think it is, or Fire Whistle, being based around I know bird, but it's something to do with wildfires and Australia. I don't remember exactly. But it goes to show that Arknights, to an extent, does look into that sort of stuff when it comes to animals and tries to be accurate for what they're trying to go for that might be unique. And to me, I think it's probably one of the collabs that works out the most, given the nature, like the hidden nature of some things in the game, and just overall how good it is in terms of like working with a charity for good things, helping out the wildlife, and something I would actually like to see it again. I know this was kind of like going like instant like 180 from a dead collab that would never show up to a collab I would like to see again. Again, I'm telling you, this tier list is gonna be all over the place. Okay. Okay, next collab. Now I'm gonna put these two not together, but I'll do them at the same time. We're gonna be focusing on the next collab that did come after that, which is the KFC collab. Now for EN, it didn't really become the KFC collab. It's several years later. I don't know why it took them so fucking long to do it. I think it's just like one of those things that probably would have taken them at least a year at most. It should have taken them, but they decided to take their sweet ass time and then eventually bring it out. Again, probably my least favorite way they handled a collab, in my opinion. The KFC collab, and of course, the Rhodes Island collab. The Rhodes Kitchen collab. Technically, if you look at like some of the artwork for the EN version, it's technically collaboration with Rhodes Kitchen, which I think is kind of funny because it's like technically it's offset of like some type of like storyline arc with just making food with the lore of Arknights. That's not necessarily canon, but I think it's just kind of funny to mention that it's still technically a collab, but not in the sense of like all the other collabs. Anyway, KFC collab. Skins are not unique enough. Let's just straight up say that. They're not unique enough. There's obviously no story. Um, they could have went more all out. That would have been funny to see Colonel Sanders in some way. But no, it's just not really unique. Collab that just has not really the greatest skins, and it's sad because it's like later on, I think they did a way better job with the collabs. I just feel like the skins they could have been way better off. And it's funny because Exu, mentioning this now, I've seen this talk about some time. Exu is like one of the only few 6-star characters that doesn't have a unique skin. Like you could argue the anime skin, but the anime skin is just literally like the KFC skin. It's just like if he changes a few things and adds like bars like for music tracks or something like that, and it's just like that's it. It's like Exu's kind of got shafted the most as a 6-star than any other 6-star in Arknights in terms of skins and what they've done for her as a character. For as much as how popular she is, and I know this is not even collaborated, but just the fact that like X is not like how popular she has not given as much love as like Abyssal Hunter or even like for fuck's sake Angelina. I mean, I say Angelina because it's like Angelina just randomly getting introduced to another game for being something important out of fucking nowhere, and it's just like X's gotten shafted the most out of all Arknights characters. And I know people say Mestima altar. Axu needs an altar more than Mestima. And that is saying something for someone who's like kind of like Axu's kind of cool. As a character in Arknights, in terms of like how much it seems like Hypergrave favors, she doesn't seem like they favor her much at all. They have not given her as much love as compared to other 6-stars. And I know that I'm mentioning that it has nothing to do with the collab, but I think it's just something to note that Exu has honestly gotten shafted the most. Regardless, KFC collab stuff. I do like the artworks of the KFC more than the Rhodes Kitchen. I hated how they just nerfed it in general. Just have it not at all, than to nerf it to begin with, is my opinion on it. So overall, I'll put the KFC collab, where would I put it? I think it, based off how I feel about other collabs, I don't want to say it's lower than some of the others, and that's saying something, but I'll probably put it at B. I'll probably just keep it at B. And then I'll put the Rhodes Kitchen at, B. That's how I put him. Honestly, I like the skins, but I don't think they've done enough for the collab in the skins to be worth it. Like, if I was a CN player, I should have expected more from the skin. Granted, this was like one of the first few collabs, so there's not really a lot to look into or take into consideration at that point in time. It's just one of those issues where it's like the timing of the release of the collab hinders it the most. So it could have been less if it was released nowadays, but it's higher because it was released around the time that we didn't. There's not like an expectation to have when it comes to it. And then the Rhodes Kitchen is pretty much nerfing to the point where it's not even a collab anymore, and then jokingly make it into a jokingly fake collab. And at this point, I would rather just not have it to begin with. I do not see the point of the skins. Just don't release them at that point if you're not going to make it a KFC collab. That's just how I feel about any and all collabs. If you're going to nerf it because of some issue of not bringing it to the collab, then just don't do it in the first place. And I can honestly say that at the time of its release, especially because I don't think the EN version was out at that point, by the way, I just want to also mention that I don't think it was out. I might be incorrect on that, but I think it was like before the EN version came out. So how would they know? There's going to be implications involved, of course. So I can't really harsh Hypergriff on that. But it just kind of showcases that gacha games need to genuinely be careful of the collabs they go with, because you're going to end up with a situation with MiHoYoverse or Arknights or Hypergriff, where you just can't release it globally and you're just going to have mad players. you're just better off being safe than sorry and making sure you can do the collabs throughout all versions. And if you can't, just don't do it at all. That is my take when it comes to collab. But overall, it could have been way worse. Trust me, it could have been way worse. But due to the timing of the collab, I'm trying to be fair here when it comes to the KFC collab. Okay, what's next? The Dear Legends collab. I'm gonna put this here. This is not the ranking yet. We got an animation for it. I think Ian got a unique animation for it. PV for it. I can't remember now. She did get a skin, which I might as well, let me move this over here. Why can't I remember her name now? Let me do instead. I'll move this over here so that I have an easier access. So 9 colored here. I don't know why I couldn't remember that, but here you are. So let me see if I could get to the actual artwork of hers. Yeah. So this is the skin that came out with the collab. But the second time collab. Technically, I'm not gonna do 2 for this one because it's not unique enough. It's just a skin and a rerun for it. I do like the artwork for the second one, especially the animations. But overall, what do I feel about the collab? It's unique because it's based off of, a Chinese legend. And that's kind of it. Like, there's nothing to it. Like, there was, like, a side story to it. But that was, like, for, like, just the character operator record. So it's like, well, there's nothing really else to it. Oh, I might as well, since I completely neglected because I'm just talking about a lot of shit here. I might as well put on some music as well. I completely spaced that off because I was planning on doing that. Maybe. We're gonna do. That's not. Gotcha reviews are upsetting. Oh. We're gonna do the Forest Tea of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I think that's just the safest bet because I know that'll probably make a lot of people happy. There you go. I'm gonna open it up lightly increase the volume. There you go. Okay, so it's not gonna be too loud, but at least you guys can hear it. Anyway. It's a 9-colored deer. Okay. I can't really say much because it's not, obviously in the culture where I live. It is a legend, Chinese legend. And while it has a unique skin that they released afterwards and they did rerun it, they didn't really do much with the collab, in all honesty. Which is probably like the only issue I have. It's almost like a testing ground of what they could do with Chinese stuff. And honestly, I just don't feel like they didn't really do much with it. And because of that, it's like, it's really difficult to find a fair placement for it. I mean, you can make the argument for, like, the KFC. I mean, granted, you had to go to KFC. But, like, both of them, technically, the only thing when it comes to the game is that they just unique skins, a different way to grab them. But just because they brought it back, they gave a skin. Honestly, I'll probably put it as high B. It's over KFC, but I can't really put it on A, and I don't think it'd be fair to put it in C. Just because it's like like if they didn't bring it back at all, and it was just the 9-carat Ladir, PV was first erased, they never bring it back, I would probably put it at C. But because they brought it back, they brought a nice skin with it, and it's very likely they could bring back this collab, I would put it at B. High B. I can't put it at A. They haven't done anything in game. And I can't say much about it either. I think that is... Okay, so after the 9-colored deer, I don't have really much else to say with that. Yeah, technically it would be the first Rainbow Six Siege collab, I think, yeah. Because if I remember correctly, it's the Rainbow Six, and then I think it's after that Monster Hunter. It's really hard to find. Like, no, technically it would be Lu Zhao. So it'd be like Rainbow Six, Lu Zhao, Monster Hunter, Astrus, Space, Kitty, then Meshi. Okay, Rainbow Six Siege. We have a lot to say when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege, first major collab that actually did something with the story. They didn't, obviously at the time, there was not a lot of unique things to it, which they kind of started doing with the second Rainbow Six Siege collab, by the way. They did bring in a new game mode that was for limited time, which was the co-op event, which overall it wasn't that great, or at least it wasn't that polished for a lot of people. I didn't really like it because it pretty much heavily relied on one person, not both. And the way they handled it was, to be blunt, not that great in terms of mechanics. Hence the whole polish. I think if they worked on it a lot more, it wouldn't feel as bad. I'm not a biggest fan of like co-op stuff compared to others. It's not like I can't play co-op games or stuff like that. Like, I played Phasma with my friends a lot, but in terms of like as an event, it wasn't that great. I didn't like it as much. I don't have, like, I'm technically only missing one enemy, but I was done at that point. I didn't want to continue on. I'm still missing that whatever that one enemy type is. Kind of this too, which I could probably make a video or live stream all just talking about that weirdness of not releasing these two different enemy types for some weird reason. A Hypergriff just doesn't want to. It's weird. But aside from that, I think it makes sense for them to release the co-op event, because that makes sense being with a co-op collab. So, you know, Rainbow Six Siege is a co-op game where you're essentially a 5v5, I think, for the most part. I don't really care too much about the series. The other thing I know is that it's Ubisoft and it's still really popular. Now, when it comes to the way they handle it, it was the very first, I think, characters that had English VA. I think it's only English VA. So that's really cool. It's had a unique storyline to it. So there was actually purpose, unique enemies, a unique boss with it that we have yet to see again, but we have seen the enemies. So not specifically tied to just Rainbow Six Siege. And the characters were at the time good. I feel like they have definitely, for the most part, in a lot of situations, lost their excellence, their shine, in terms of power creep and all that jazz. But I feel like Ash still has some use to her still. I think the other characters still kind of have their own uses. I just don't really have them built or used. I might actually build them when it comes to the second one that's coming out here in a couple of days for EN. But overall, way better than the nine colored, way better than Exu and the KFC collab. There's a lot more to it. And I didn't really expect much from it because I don't know much about it or knew how they were going to go about the story, but I actually really like the collab. Unbeknownst to people that are gonna think I'm gonna really hate a lot of these collabs, there's a few that I don't like, but overall, I feel like they did a really good job. Could they have done a lot better? Yes, way much so. Especially, I think there's some errors and plot holes in the story. I think they could have done way more when it comes to music and making it feel unique. I think music is everything, and I think this is kind of the issue with the first Rainbow Six Siege collab, that you can tell the difference between the second one is definitely the music. I think that's really important, and I feel like they were really lacking on that. There's gonna be another collab that's gonna be a major flaw with that. But overall, aside from that, I think a lot of other things I like. I think the story wasn't that great, even though with the few plot holes, it did a lot for the lore for Arknights, and that they had to actually put into the anime that wasn't there originally in the story. That's how important some of the plot points in that collab was. Even if there were plot holes in that story, it's still really important. So, it's interesting. Overall, I would put it on S, but it's just almost there. It's almost S. That's why it's like A+ is fair, especially as an after experience. What else? I think I kind of explained everything there was around it. I know there's obviously a lot of memes, but overall for me, even with me liking the collab, I don't really have much of an attachment to the series, so I'm not like overly like, oh my god, when it comes to it. But overall, I would say I like it. I'm ready for the second one that's coming out in a couple of days, and I think that's a good thing. Now, granted, it's gonna be a little difficult to really make this accurate because we don't have the second one coming out yet, and who knows how I'll feel about it, but I think I'm gonna enjoy it a lot. Regardless, I think that's all there is to note with the first Rainbow Six Siege collab. Okay. Next up, Lu Zhao. I'm gonna put it in here for now. Lu Zhao. Okay. This is the same thing as I don't know much about it, so I don't have much to say about it. When it was sometime after it was released, I did watch a few of the first few episodes that were on YouTube. There's a lot of episodes missing, so it's really hard to like catch all of it and watch all of it and get a full understanding of the story. Aside from that, it was one of those that I actually did like the story. Another one of those that that I did like. So it's like, I want to put it here. Now there are some flaws to it too. It acted like a side story, you know, like one of those like 1 week long events where it was just like stories that you have to unlock instead of just like going through the normal stage progression. So I feel like the way they handled it like that and didn't really do much anything unique, I feel like lowers it to an A. Unfortunately, I feel like they could have brought this back. If they brought this back and did a lot more with it, it'd probably A+, maybe S. Unfortunately, I have to put an A. But there is one more thing to note when it comes to it, that this will never change. Because we will never get it again. And you might be wondering, what are you talking about? There's always a chance the collab can come back. Not this one. Because this one is, unfortunately, that second game I talked about earlier, where it was banned in China. Not the game, but I was talking about maybe Destiny 2, but... yeah, the series is banned in China. So what the fuck happened? Yeah, that's why we're not gonna see it again. But what happened? What happened? Pretty much from the general gist of the story is that the creator of the series essentially started fights with another series from other creators, and it got so out of hand that China had to step in. The CCP had to step in, essentially. And you could probably guess what happened. Yeah, the series is banned. It is straight up just completely in China. So that is why everything when it's come to the collab, because it did show up in Ian, is true limited. Meaning the Rock skin, the Suzu skin, and Lu Zhao will never return. Straight up will never return. So if you missed out on those, you missed out on those. Which is sad. Like, first off, that's sad. Because, I actually like the story. I like the skins. I like Lu Zhao. I think there's a lot more to the story that I would have loved to see. I think this collab could have easily came back. But it won't. Because it's banned in China. And that does play a role in the tier list as well. But I'm not gonna push it any further. I think it's one of those that was a really good collab in my opinion. Unfortunately, we just won't see again. And I think there could have been way more done with it, but that's likely won't happen, unfortunately. So I think A is a perfect spot to put it. Okay. Next would be the unfortunate Monster Hunter. Ah, goodness. Alright, so many fights with this one. I'm gonna make so many people. So, right now, if any obvious already, trigger alert. If you get easily mad or triggered, I would suggest you to leave and stop watching the video from here on now, because you're going to hate the living shit out of me because of how I think about this collab. I'm not a big fan of Monster Hunter. I think it's an overrated series. I'm not a big fan. I did try demos, and I hated it. I really did not like the gameplay. I'm talking about like 3DS versions here. I tried it out. I tried the demos out. I didn't like it. I always thought it was an overrated series. And while I'm interested in some of the characters and designs, I'm looking at like the latest one they've announced, Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm really conflicted even thinking about trying to play that one. It's just because I've always have this underlying feeling that the series is not going to be fun. I've tried it before. I think it's overrated, so it's like really hard for me to even think about playing it because I don't think I'll enjoy it. And with this as a decision for a Capcom collab, you know how many great series there are in Capcom? You know how many series that would have worked for Arknights? And they went with Monster Hunter. For me, this was the biggest letdown. On top of the fact that the live stream that they featured in ended up probably ruining everything for the collab. And I think the collab was worse off because of that incident. If you don't remember, when they first revealed Reclamation Algorithm, when it came for like its like 3-week period of its like beta, essentially, the start of it, at the very end of that, had Devil May Cry. It had like the Devil May Cry intro voiceover, kind of like how there's like the Resident Evil, but Devil May Cry. I don't know that one too well, but that on top of pretty much trolling everyone, ruining relations with Capcom, on top of the fact that they've messed up with, I feel like there was a poor decision of a choice. There's a lot more of this series. It might have been the most popular, but most popular doesn't mean it's the best choice. And I am a firm belief that a collaboration is best when it works for both. And the story doesn't really work with it. There's like, yes, there is like the whole like hunting monsters bit, but that's more like not even closely related to Monster Hunter, and that's like a side lore thing. And it's just like, oh, that small side lore thing's great choice. Even though we have zombies with Mesfiato, and we have demons with the latest anime, like main arc, that would work with Resident Evil or Devil May Cry, but no, we just have to do this small lore thing about monster hunting. And to me, that was like the second story I never finished in Arknights. I'm trying to remember what the first one was. It was not the first, but it was like the second. I just didn't really like the story all that much. Overall, on top of that, let's talk about the characters. The most favorite thing you like to see in a gacha game. A collab with the series, and majority of it is just alters of characters you've already had. What's the point of doing a collab when you don't get collab characters? Or if you do, it's only freebies. Yes, I've experienced this before, and I absolutely hate it. Good example is the Tales collab with Sword Art Online Mimic Defrag, where each and every character, including Kirito with an under on his face, was the gacha characters, and the freebies were the actual only Tales characters. So yes, you could say I have PTSD when it comes to this. Why the fuck would you want Kirito with a fucking under on his head as a collab character over a Tales character? Is beyond me. So, to me, an alter for a character, even if it would make sense for the lore-wise, is discredit to the idea of doing a collab with it, which you could do characters. That there are characters in Monster Hunter, why couldn't you just do them? No, we just have to make sure, it would make sense for them to just be characters in Arknights universe in-game. It's like, seriously. Why? Honestly, fair. If you want to have that, sure. But there should have been more than just cats. Again, I'm gonna go back to the whole Kirito having under on his head as a good example of, like, it's not a good idea because it could have been way better. And it's just laziness. It's just pure laziness. You fucked up so bad, which, fun fact, that's what Hyperglyph accidentally did. They fucked up so bad, I truly believe they fucked up their chances with this collab and future collabs. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the only Capcom collab we have, because they messed up so bad with their reveal trailer. Which it wasn't a reveal trailer, they just put Devil May Cry with Reclamation Algorithm and kind of trolled the entire community and Capcom at the same time, and probably ruining public relations with Capcom. So it's just all of this together, and that's not all of it! That is somehow not fucking all of it! Like, I could still continue on. But one, the music. They messed up the music in the global version! The main music for the event was a music that we've already had before. It was not even anything related to the collab. And then the boss music was also messed up! God, this is probably by far, if it wasn't for the fact of, like, probably how poor I view of the global version of the KFC collab, this would be hands down the worst collab ever I experienced in Arknights. Even no matter how good the characters are, I'm still gonna put the collab so fucking low. It's not even funny. Like, I would like to put this on D. Like, that is how bad the Monster Hunter collab was. But a lot of people will say, like Monster Hunter so much, they just ignore all of these issues that happened with it, just because they like the series so much. And to me, you could do that. But if you had that to consideration, I would put that at B or A. At most. I think, with all the decisions they made, all the mishaps they have made, I just can't, for the life of me, try to defend it, or like it. Especially ruining their chances with other Capcom collabs. They have to literally suck the out of Capcom, just so that they could get another Capcom collab out. I don't think people realize how much Hyperglyph F fucked off with, the reveal trailer. I'm not confident another Capcom collab coming out, and it's sad. Now, granted, is that legitimately gonna happen? Who the fuck knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but the way they fucked up so much, they had to do an apology. Yeah, I don't expect it. I really don't. I don't expect another Capcom collab. But, yeah. I mean, I would put this over the Kitchens Rhode Island collab, because at that point, you probably shouldn't just have it to begin with, you know? So having that Monster Hunter above that, I think, is fair. C, not necessarily, but we have some C options. Oh, right. I just realized, technically there will be actually another section. Okay, I just remembered. Okay, so let's go with the next collab. Exastrus or the Chinese Space Program? You know what? Let's do the Chinese Program, which... yeah. We're gonna have to make a new row, because I completely forgot about this. Do I not have what? Was there a green? Yeah, green right here. Yellow. There you go. Okay, so this one is, doesn't exist yet. These are the collabs that showed up for CN that will likely never show up in EN. I think that's fair. And that's where this goes. Like, I could say as much as I would like about this collab should have already appeared. Like, technically, this would have been the KFC collab, or at least a portion of it, if it didn't brought out this version of the Rhodes Kitchen, you know? Fun fact, that would have been how it was, but that's not, you know, that's not what happened. Honestly, I can't say much, because this collab based off an agency in China. I don't expect it to come out in EN. It just doesn't exist in EN. That's where it goes. I really don't have much else to say. Which is, I think, saddening. But it is the way it is. That's like, I think that's all we can really say. It's just that there is nothing to say. It's a thing, and it just won't exist in EN. So it's unfortunately I can't say much of anything at all. If this was like a CN player, they probably wouldn't have this, honestly. Unless CN comes out with their own collab or unique thing, which I doubt it, but who knows? I think there should be. The fact of how they dealt collabs in the past, EN should have its own collab, unique collab. And I think it shouldn't be an issue for the CN players because they have their own collabs. That are obviously not going to come to EN. And I think that's fair. But regardless, people don't care about fair. Anyway. Continuing on, let's talk about X Asterisk. X Asterisk, for those that completely forgot, just before the release of the mobile premium game, X Asterisk, there was a collab for both games with Arknights and X Asterisk, where in X Asterisk you can essentially have the two characters wear Chin and Amiya's clothing, and then for Arknights you have the two plushie versions of the two female characters in X Asterisk, and that's essentially it. No story, no nothing unique. They could go back and actually do something for it in the future. I doubt it, but honestly, because there's nothing much to it, there's no skins, there's nothing. It's way better, in my opinion, than the horrendous shitstorm that is the Monster Hunter collab, and then you have like the collab that really should just haven't been. I think it's fair to put that in C, because there's nothing really much of anything with the collab. It's not much of a collab, it's just like a furniture piece that you're not going to see most of the time. It's a collab, but it's a Nothing Burger collab. But the fact that it's better than the others says a lot of it being a Nothing Burger. It's still a thing, but it's better than a shitstorm and shouldn't have existed. Okay, so after this is, of course, what we're going to be getting for EN in a couple of days. The Rainbow Six Siege collab Part 2. Now, I don't know what to expect from the collab, the story. I've seen the gameplay of characters to an extent. I am actually really excited to play them and try them out. Don't know about the enemy or boss mechanic, which is, for me, an important thing to mention or talk about. But I can't say much about that anyway. There is a unique theme. That is a first time deal where there's like a unique theme coming out with the collab that can change the look of the game heavily, and I think that's really cool, even if you have to buy it. I can't really say much about, I think that's all it really is. I mean, the music I think is pretty good, which is just an above case for the first one. There is no new game mode, but I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, we are going to be getting the collab again, the co-op event again permanently, unless, at least I think it's permanently. It's been a while since I've even seen anyone play or talk about it. But overall, I would say, now thinking about it, yes. Even though I have not read the story, I would say right now, from what I've seen, yes. I think this is way just above the first one. And since I highly value the first Rainbow Six Siege collab, and I think this is above that, just from what I've seen and understand, says a lot. And I actually can't wait for it to come out. This is why I was kind of scared of the shoe when it came to the collab hunting session. It was not that great. It was kind of all over the place. But that's why I farmed out tickets, just so that I can use the single tickets and not waste all of my holding power. So that's where I put that. Essentially, if they're going to do it the same way from the very first one, we'll likely get 20 free pulls. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but I think that might be the case, which means you might only have to do 100 summons only to get guarantee the main 6-star, which is probably going to be focusing on anyway, and you're more likely to get both of the other 5 stars as well. So overall, I think this collab, you could probably max out and get everyone in about 100 pulls, if you can manage to do the 20 free, unless they don't do 20 free and it's only 10 free. But they did that for the first Rainbow Six Siege collab. There was the first 10 pull from logging in, and then from like a mini event thing, you could eventually earn another 10 free pull. So we'll have to see with other stuff I just don't know about, but overall, I think it's gonna be S. I mean, if I go back, I might change a few things here and there, maybe. We'll have to see when it comes to the story, for sure. But overall, just what I know, I would probably put that in S. Okay. Last two. Hello Kitty. Another series that I don't care about, but ever since I've seen the collab come out in CN, I have non-stop seen Hello Kitty. To the point I specifically got this for when it comes out in EN. I have seen it non-stop since it released in CN. It's kind of insane. For a series that I have not seen much of and I kind of know existed, or at least Hello Kitty to an extent, after the CN, I have seen it non-stop. It's right now, even fun fact, it is currently collabing with Yu-Gi-Oh! At McDonald's Toys. I don't know if it's a different scenario, or if it's just only at, like, McDonald's as, like, the toy stuff. But with Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, what the fuck? After it came out, it's just been non-stop Hello Kitty just in the corner watching me all the time. That's what it just seems like. Regardless, how do I feel about it? I like the skins. It's just only the skins. I don't think there's really much else to say, but I think the skins are better than what 9-Color Deer did and what the KFC did. But there is no story to it. So it's a balancing act of... It's gonna be between A and B, essentially. And I'd probably put it, like, here. I think that's probably, for me, the safest when it comes to it. I'm actually interested for the collab to come out. Obviously, I'm gonna be wearing that shirt when it does. But that's all there really is to say, honestly. Like, that's just it. If you like the series, you like it. For me, I don't really care, but, cool. Coming out, it has nice skins, so... Cool. Okay. All the nice stuff is done talking about. We had me bashing the Monster Hunter collab. We had the Rhodes Island Kitchen. We've had It Doesn't Exist in the End. We had Destiny 2 that's banned in China. Technically, Lo Zhao is banned in China, but we've had it. We've had the good after experience it, the first Rainbow Six Siege collab. I'm really excited for the second one. I wish we see another WWF charity collab. Now let's talk about Dungeon Meshi. Okay, where the hell is this gonna be? Now, funny enough, I talked about this already before, but the collab did come out in CN. So with that in mind, that is taken into account, how do I feel about the collab? I wish it didn't exist. In my honest opinion, especially with all the collabs that could have worked for an anime, not talking about the popular ones like Dragon Ball Z, no, not Dragon Ball Z, like Furin, or what's the other one called? Fuck, I'm gonna forget some names here. Fucking A. The flowers that grown that day. There we go. At least the English part I can remember. And there's like so many other choices. Doing a very recent popular fantasy joke anime compared to way better choices in that line of fantasy, on top of the fact of what would actually work with Arknights. I do not like this collab. Full stop. Same thing with the Monster Hunter collab. I am not a fan of this collab. For someone who does watch anime, and trust me, I do watch anime, I just never really been a fan of it. It's not in any sites that can watch it. I would have to watch it illegally. The biggest problem with that is licensing hell, which doesn't help. The only reason why we got it is because of Yostar. By the way, that's the reason why. It's not because Hypergriff decided to collab with it. It's because of Yostar and Yostar Pictures. And you know how I feel about Yostar. If you don't know, I hate Yostar. I think I've grown to hate Yostar. I used to like Yostar, like, pre-Arknights, before 2020. But Yostar changed a lot, and I started hating them. And the fact that they're the reason why we have this collab to begin with. And by the way, you don't know why. Yostar helped out with the anime. Yeah. If you go into Dungeon Mushi and the contributions, Yostar's there. Yostar Pictures, I think, is what it's called. Which is the same company that's worked on many different animes, including the Arknights anime. And yeah, that is the only reason why we have this collab. Not a collab that works with Arknights, or a better collab like Furin. And I'm not the only one with that opinion, by the way. There are some other Arknights YouTubers that share the same belief. Now, aside from my personal grievances against it, the characters are shit. Or at least the 6 are, I guess, from what I've seen. By the way, for the picture, I just randomly took it off the internet, by the way. I didn't even take it long to get most of these pictures, but regardless, the other characters look interesting, but my plan is I probably will skip them, but we'll see. I may change my mind. Aside from that, it actually has some mechanic to it, so that bumps it up. I don't know about music. I think it does, but it's probably similar to Monster Hunter. From what it sounds or seems like, I haven't listened to anything of the sort. And I think it has way too much involvement with the main cast of Arknights. It's like, to me, from what I understand, it's like completely ignore all the other collabs because they don't exist. Supposedly this one's more canon than the rest. And that alone, with everything I've already said, is... I'm not a big fan. And again, a lot of people did just leave, by the way, of me liking certain things and then just me dog shitting on something that's popular. To me, maybe I would be different if there wasn't licensing hell, and if there's actually something interesting to know. Me looking at like the anime at face value, I'm not that interested. I'm just not that interested. So that alone is just gonna drop in value of like, you know, do I actually care about said collab? Not really. And there's nothing really much else to say. Obviously, it's not now an EN, but face value from what I've seen, from what I feel, from what we could have gotten, there's a lot of things holding this back for being something like the Rainbow Six Siege. And it's like, I don't think I'm going to bother with it too much when it comes out in EN. To me, I am in the firm belief that easily there could have been way better choices for collabs. But that is not what happened. Now let's debate upon where I put it. It's better than the KFC. Not the KFC, but the fake KFC, the Rhodes Kitchen. But is it better than the Monster Hunter? The Monster Hunter has way too many fuck-ups. But there's some other things to note too. It's like, technically one of the 6 stars brings in new mechanic, but just like somebody falls on its face. So it's gonna be surprising to some people, but it's not gonna be a low as D. I think it's gonna be C. It's gonna be C. To me, well, I hate it as much as Monster Hunter. I can at least recognize that it's done more than Monster Hunter has. And that's saying something. That is saying something. I thinking about it, it's so, like, insane to even me thinking that way. But that's just how I feel. I think it has done more than Monster Hunter. It has actual music for the boss, and at least I assume so. I may be incorrect, and I might actually lower this lower than Monster Hunter, but let's hope it has actually more unique music than Monster Hunter did. And then you have the fact that the characters are just way worse, or at least 6-star is, which is a big factor for pulling power. I feel like a lot of people are going to skip this if there's like an even better collab in the future. I'm just saying that right now. That will very likely happen, by the way. Especially if La Blonde and if Crown Slayer become playable. The collab is gonna be like a utter bottom, and it's only gonna be popular because of just being dungeon meshy. Because yes, I can recognize that it's a popular anime, but that's all there is to note. I think it does have a unique theme like the Rainbow Six Siege, where you can buy, and it does have its own unique mechanic. For Monster Hunter, it's like it adds like hunting equipment, but a lot of it was pretty much just useless, in my opinion. Like you could just completely ignore that. It didn't really help out all that much. It was like they tried to do something to help out, but the only thing you would use it is for the boss, and that's it. And even then, there's nothing too unique. I think Rainbow Six Siege, ironically, had way better thought out enemies than Monster Hunter did. It had a unique mechanic for the monsters, quote unquote, but I just wasn't really like, I didn't really like the monsters all that too much anyway, design wise. And I think it's just the mechanics were just way better off in the Rainbow Six Siege than Monster Hunter. And I don't think I would change anything, honestly. I think this is the tier list. These two are not technically a tier list. It's just one of those things that they're specifically on the side. If I had an option to put them like on the side, I would. Like, it doesn't exist in EN. It's not going to come to EN. It should have been out in EN. And it's just completely dead. It's not going to show up. So if I had to do anything, it would just be like here. So above my camera, essentially. From D up to S. That's where I would put the collabs. Some people are going to completely forget about X Ash just existing, and the fact that I value that higher than Dungeon Meshi and Monster Hunter says a lot about the decisions of it, how I feel about it, them losing money out because, well, I mean, I don't care about it. I can be a paying whale, but the fact that they missed out on me says a lot. It's not, every single collab is not going to be for everyone. And even if I did like these two collabs, for the most part, like, I wasn't really crazy for them when they first were announced. Like, to me, if I knew that Plants vs. Zombies was getting collab, I would be blowing my nuts off. Like, I would be going crazy. That would also make sense for them to do it, but they didn't, which is insane in its own right. But on top of that, what else? There's actually so many different collabs that would actually like make me interested or like really hyped for, like Etika hype, like so insane that you might think I have a mental illness hype. And that's what I want. That's actually what I want for people to think when it comes to me being hyped for something. But a lot of the time, that just doesn't happen for me for Arknights. I can be excited, but collab-wise, a lot of these collabs I just have not been interested in for when they first announced. And some of them, I actually like, you know, I actually like. Like, I feel like a lot of these, I liked more or am interested in greatly than what I first thought. And I think some this delivered, like, not that great at all. But it was like, Ash is a good one. And then the fact that Road's Kitchen was just, overall, the skins are not that great to begin with, and there's nothing unique to them. Which just sucks, because the fact that they released them so late to begin with, not taking into consideration that they're just way more expensive to get than a normal KFC collab, it was pretty much a fucking ripoff. Like, there's a reason why it's the lowest rated collab for me. It just shouldn't have existed. It was a ripoff. It was way cheaper to go to China and get the KFC collab with the KFC own account. No, not KFC, seeing an own account, it's just like, I know it was a little bit of an exaggeration, but maybe not. I mean, it depends on how much it costs and how much it costs to eat at KFC there at that point in time. It's probably a lot less than now. I feel like this collab should have happened sooner, and they could have done it differently. And that's why it's the worst rated, compared to the other two where they put effort into. I don't think there's really much else to note. I think this generally gives what I think about most of the collabs. It's like, again, there's a lot of collabs I wouldn't mind seeing. But I personally don't think I'll find a collab that I'd be hyped for. Because a lot of the collabs they've done for Hypergrowth have been mostly safe, popular bets. And I think that's just boring. And granted, there's some that I would be interested in, like Furin, that's really popular, more popular than Dungeon Meshi, but they chose Dungeon Meshi anyway over it because of Yostar. And that's something that you have to take into consideration now, too, is that Yostar has influence of the collabs. I don't think people realize that. And that can greatly change a lot of collab options. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Because there's going to be more interest of working with Yostar. Again, there's a reason why Hyperglyph stopped working with Yostar in their future games. Like, Infield, Pupacom, and X Astras are not under Yostar. They're under a different company that is a third party to Hyperglyph Griffithine or Griffithine or whatever it's called, which is based in Singapore, right? I might be incorrect. If I'm correct on that, I can't remember the country / city, but whatever. You get the point. There's a reason why they stopped working with Yostar. It is more than just that, by the way. There's a lot of reasons too that they stopped working about it. They can actually generally do stuff like with MiHoYoverse, actually make proper ads for the game. But regardless, aside from the Yostar shenanigans, who knows what will happen for future collabs. Overall, my hope is that I find a collab that is a lot of interest to me, but I don't believe that will happen. And for someone who's been playing this game for essentially since the start, you could say my patience is running thin for a lot of things. And I've been very, very vocal on it. Even though there's some collabs that, have been just mean or I liked, I have honestly just been waiting. Just waiting for something that just makes me go absolutely nutso. But unfortunately, that time has yet to come. And hopefully in the future, that does happen. Anyway, well, we do have one conundrum though. As I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I was planning on doing a chat version of the tier list. Now, I will say this, I wouldn't mind doing that. It's just that there's, like, no one in chat. A lot of people are just leaving because they don't like what they're seeing, essentially. I mean, I honestly don't think... Maybe if there's interest after the fact, we'll go back to this, but... Let me see here. Okay. So, while that is what I would put down, I'm going to screenshot this. Because I don't know if I will make this into a YouTube video, but who knows. AK 9 2 4. Dun 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 dun. And you know, I'll say this. Thinking about it now. If Dungeon Meshi was just skins, would it be higher? Probably. I don't know. It actually generally might be higher. So, just a thought, you know? I am personally giving people time to show up to see if they want to make a version. I'm gonna put these on the bottom because it doesn't allow me to. I'm gonna just put them at the bottom here just for people to see or want to give. Let me actually... text. Let me quickly change some stuff here. I'm going to go 32 bold. That works. I'm gonna go Damian, I guess. Put this above my head. Okay. We'll see if even if Discord's available. If not, we'll just ignore for now. Okay, well, if no one mentions anything or talks or whatever, then we'll probably end the stream off here shortly. Because, I mean, I could just stay here forever and talk about how I feel about the collab choices, but overall, like, it doesn't really help that, like, a lot of the choices, I just feel like the lower end choices, there's like a simple ways to fix, or maybe I'd have a different stance on, like the KFC collab if it came a lot earlier, it wasn't so scuffed. Monster Hunter collab probably would be put a little higher if there wasn't so many issues with it, and if it, or maybe it was a different collab entirely. Same case for Dungeon Meshi. I feel like I probably would have put it, Destiny 2 low. It did. I would say Destiny 2 would probably be in the same scenario as Monster Hunter and Dungeon Meshi if it wasn't for the fact that it's not gonna happen because China banned Bungie. So there's that. So I can't really say much when it comes to Destiny 2. Maybe I would have changed my mind. Again, I am open to things. I have changed my stance on things as time has went on, especially for Arknights. So it's not like everything's final, but I feel like Monster Hunter probably would be at the C or B if it wasn't for all the issues it had. Even if I didn't like it, I probably would at least recognize some things, but I feel like other cabs have done better. There's issues, especially with the reveal, and so many other things. And it's not just for the fact of personal biasy against it. Because I generally have, like, I don't think black and white. I try not to think black and white when it comes to this sort of stuff. Unless it's just, there isn't much to say, because it's just a simple fact of it. It's not in the end, it won't ever show up in the end, or it just won't show up at all, you know, for the two different collabs. Aside from that, it's just generally speaking, yeah, I try to think of multiple reasonings for the placement that it would be in. And do I have multiple reasons why I don't like it being a thing, or have issues with, type deal? Or do I have multiple reasons why I do like it, that I think was really cool with it, you know? And I might change my thought process on the second Rainbow Six Siege collab, too. Again, I haven't read the story, that may change some things. So, it's not really final. Maybe I might raise up, Lu Zhao. You know, just stuff like that, like I could see happening. Might lower KSC collab. Who knows? Well, I don't think there's gonna be much of a response or anything when it comes to chat. Everyone pretty much did not like my thought process and left, and that is up to them. But I probably will make this into a video, and maybe in the future, if people are interested, we could probably do a separate stream for what chat thinks, and it'd be kind of interesting to see the arguments from both sides, as someone getting a different view take is important. And I think a lot of people might have a certain view take on a lot of these collabs, and I might be the extreme different person that you might be interested in, you know? That may be taken to things that people don't often think of, or certain collabs that maybe they completely forgot about, like the X-Ashes collab. That didn't really do much at all, and would probably be a lot lower for a lot of people because of that. Or maybe higher because they like X-Ashes. You never know. I haven't really gotten around to playing it. I honestly probably should. We'll see. I know a lot of the content creation scene did not play it, by the way. So it's one of those we will wait and see. I probably would at some point. Anyway. I don't think there's really much else to note. I am going to end the stream off here, because there doesn't really seem to be much when it comes to chat, which is fine. I know a lot of people will laugh because they didn't like my take, and that's fine. They can leave if they want to, but I think it's important to take note of what other people have to say, even if you don't like what you're hearing. And that's something I have to teach myself again as well. Anyway, I am going to end it off here. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, / follow. And description below is Discord, so do please go check it out. Aside from that, again, I don't think there's really anything else to note. All the rest of the videos will be up in due time up to this point. And think there's really anything that I need to know, so I am going to end off here. Be safe and be healthy, and I will see you on another live stream. Until then,